Welcome to Inside the Wires. Hands down, the best podcast in all of racket sports. Listener discretion may be advised for a younger audience.
Okay, welcome back to Inside the Wires. We have a fun show tonight. We've got a couple legends of Philadelphia paddle, JC Cotto and Tomas Christian on tonight, with Nobu Tanaka and Ara and myself. So relax, enjoy a fun episode here where we talk about lots of things paddle and otherwise. All right, welcome back to Inside the Wires. We've got a fantastic show for you today. We've got myself, Ara, Nobu hosting, and we've got the Philadelphia Legends. This is so exciting. So the question is, who is really the mayor of Philadelphia and the paddle community? Is it Juan Carlos Cotto, JC Cotto, or the pride and joy homegrown boy, Tomas Christian? So that's the first question we have to open up with is, who is truly the mayor of Philadelphia? What do you guys say?
I think he's the king of Philly these days. You know, he's big time. He's up in North Jersey now in the fancy clubs.
He got exiled though. He can't be the king of Jersey or of Philly. He got exiled.
But you know, he's big time now. He's big time.
JC's sitting in my throne for a little while.
So while you know, until he comes back, I guess I can keep the seat warm. But no, it's dude, the guy's out of this world. He's been playing with top players for the past year or two, and he's the king of Philly, no question about it.
All right, come on. You're selling yourself short, JC. You're the kingmaker there. So for people who don't know the two of you guys, can you talk a little bit about yourself and your background? JC, why don't you open up?
So I'm director of rackets at Ranome Golf Club in Philly. I started maybe like 8 years ago. I was the director at Manufacturers. When I was at Manufacturers, I would say my second year there, this young blonde kid from Abington showed up at the pro shop looking for a summer gig. And, good looking kid, could hit a tennis ball. I kept asking all these questions in the interview. The guy spoke zero words. So I'm like, you know what? Good looking kid. The kids like him. He comes from like a good recommendation. Let's give him a shot. Kid didn't speak a word on the court all summer long, but for some reason the kids loved him. He was like most popular pro. So, one thing kind of led to another. He kind of kept coming back after the summers. He finished at LaSalle, was looking for a full-time job. I had a spot open and I was like, hey man, why don't you come over full-time? You got to get into some paddle. That's kind of part of the gig. And he's like, sure. So, here we are 8 years later, still boys. And yeah, that's kind of how everything started.
Well, you're being too modest though. That's enough about Tomas. Tell us about yourself. So you're at Aronimink, which is one of the premier clubs in Philly, and Manufacturers before then. And what was your background, tennis background, etc. before that?
So I grew up in Puerto Rico. Was top player in the country there growing up. Went to school at Stony Brook to play tennis. Played there 4 years. Then after that, I moved to New York City, following my girlfriend at the time, now wife. Started teaching tennis, looking for jobs in accounting. Kind of a job opened up for me in accounting out in Denver. I actually decided to decline it and stick with tennis. I worked 2 summers at Manufacturers as the top assistant there. My third summer, I was going to go out to the Hamptons, which every pro in New York City kind of did. And then literally 2 weeks before going to the Hamptons, Manufacturers kind of called me and they're like, hey, the guy that you were working for, he left. We're looking for a pro. Are you available? And I was like, you know what? Like, absolutely. So I went over, interviewed, did awesome. I thought the job was going to be a seasonal job. So in my mind, I was going to be like, you know what? I'll grind in the summer, make a ton of money, go to the city, fall, winter, spring, don't have to work as hard, can enjoy the city life. But when I got to Manny's, they're like, hey, man, so the job is year round and you have to teach this thing called paddle. We're building courts. It's the next big thing. And they're like, have you played paddle before? And I said, absolutely, I've played paddle. I've never stepped on a paddle court ever in my life.
They didn't have paddle in Puerto Rico?
they did not have paddle in Puerto Rico. So
In the
you know,
Dominican Republic, they have it.
they do have it.
Yeah.
My goal actually was New York City, and then maybe find my way to maybe Florida, Miami area, kind of big Latin community there. I had some friends there teaching tennis, so that was kind of my goal. And yeah, I just kind of fell in love with paddle. And Manny's, we built this incredible program. It's one of the biggest in Philly now, and Scott Falatek, who's a legend in Philly as well, he's now the pro there. And yeah, I was fortunate to have some awesome pros like our friend Robbie Rowe, Tomas, Danny Tornea, who's in Chicago now, and we just built something really special. I think that kind of like got our name out there. And when the opportunity to be Andy's assistant around me open up, Tomas took the job. Andy leaves, I kind of go for the job, which is obviously like a huge opportunity in Philly. I was fortunate enough to get it, and yeah, here we are. So I've been kind of lucky. I kind of took some risky decisions, risky moves, but everything's paid off so far. But yeah, all kind of because of paddle.
And JC's too humble to admit it, but I think JC's pretty well known, and certainly in Philly and around the area, with being somebody who is a great trainer of assistants and getting them ready to move on to their own director's job. So that's kudos to him, because he won't mention that. But very, very well thought of for grooming some excellent people to become directors.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
now, is it true when you first saw Tomas that you thought he was a short version of Marek Stravinsky?
I thought they were brother from another mother for
Hey,
sure.
who has a bigger head? I'm not sure yet.
All right, so Tomas, give us the whole thing. You this is the furthest you've ever been away from home, maybe in your whole life. Is that true?
This is
In
it.
Jersey?
Yeah, I moved to New Jersey I don't even know, maybe in April. And before that, I had never left Philadelphia. That's it. Grew up there, played tennis, played college tennis at LaSalle, it's also in Philly. And then that's it. Every summer I worked for JC, and we both didn't know what paddle was. And then I was kind of just winging it at that point, and I was graduating, majored in finance, and I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And his assistant, Robbie Rowe, who's a good friend of ours, had left. And he's like, "Hey, you want to come do this full time?" And winter rolled around, and we were teaching paddle. He was throwing me out there with three ladies. I was teaching a sport. I had no idea what was going on. They knew I had no idea what was going on. It was hysterical. But yeah, he took me to his first tournament. I mean, JC is the complete full reason that I'm here today, with paddle, with my job, everything. I mean, he's the best for sure. So, I mean, he told a lot of it, but that's pretty much it. He was my first partner. We played our first tournament at Stanwich Club. He he used to say we had to earn the car ride. We had to earn the hotel room trip. And since we couldn't win a first round, we had to go in the morning at 5 a.m. until we earned it. So we get up at 5. I already hate it. Go to Stanwich. We lose first round, like 1-1. Lose the back draw, 2-1. I'm like, this is horrible. I hate this. And then next day he tells me, a couple of weeks later, I came to work and I was watching videos and I was like, oh, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And that was it. Just, we started playing together, and I was lucky that I think a lot of new players struggle to get, good tennis guys struggle to get partners at first, because they're like, anyone else is already a little bit better than them, and they're like, don't want to waste their time. And JC and I were lucky, I think, that we were in the same boat, that we could kind of learn together. So I think that was huge for us.
Tomas, do you have any brothers or sisters?
I have 2 step siblings, but no blood siblings, except Marek Travinsky, of course.
No, because I saw I was looking at a couple of draws and stuff, and I saw a Meredith Christian, but I was like, I don't know who that could possibly be. Any idea?
Oh no.
Any idea who that could be? Any background on
that? I knew you'd do some crazy research here. Oh my God. So Thomas, or Tomas, is my middle name. My legal first name is Meredith. Ara did a lot of digging. I don't know, he found my birth certificate or something, or my passport. I'm not sure. I knew it.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah, family name somehow, believe it or not. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good to know. All right. Cleared up the
Uh-huh.
confusion for all of us. Thank
By
you.
the way, that was never in a draw, but I love how you snuck that in there.
I'm
That's so
calling you
good.
Mayor from now on, dude.
Uh,
Mayor.
that's like Guy Moore. Guy, what's his real
Oh,
name? Scott
Curtis Guy Moore.
Curtis Guy Moore. Yeah, it's better to call him Curtis. I think we have to have
Curtis
him
is a
on the
good name,
show.
too. Oh, I mean,
That would
Oh,
be
you
yeah.
must.
Oh, that would be like 2 hours of just sheer craziness.
clear your
You know?
schedule.
Yeah. Although he's great. So you guys talked about how you came to paddle. What I always hear Ben talk about how not having seen paddle before and coming to paddle, he absolutely hated it initially, and then I mean it sounds like getting up at 5 a.m. you weren't a big fan either, initially. But so how is it? How is it that you came to like it? And you hear a lot of guys now say, "Well, I only play paddle. Like I don't even like playing tennis, or I don't want to play tennis anymore, or whatever." But what's that like? Like what's that transition like?
Go ahead, Jason.
I think for me, dude, the community, man, the people surrounding it, like win or lose, kind of getting together after, having beers, having dinner, just watching paddle. It's you don't necessarily have to have the most amazing racket skills to be successful at it. Some of the best players that have played the game
Look
don't
at Ara.
necessarily they don't necessarily come from a tennis background, so I think the people surrounding it, Philly's obviously an awesome area. I think for us, when we were starting, we kind of started playing tournaments and playing more and more. So the community kind of rallies behind you, win or lose. They kind of throw you a text, hey, man, I saw your results. Like, that was a great effort, or like great run at the tournament. So I think for me, that kind of made it. It obviously for pros, especially for me, I think like I wouldn't be able to do tennis all 12 months of the year, right? Like I wouldn't be able to do paddle like all 12 months of the year. I think usually we kind of hit the seasons and we're kind of ready for the next one. So, having that out and being someone like probably every other player in the country that used to compete in tennis that no longer competes, getting out there on a Saturday and kind of letting the competitive juices flow again, it's kind of fun too. So a combination of all of it, I think that kind of made it for me at least. And to this day, I'm closer to 40 than I am to 30. I still love getting up at 5 a.m., driving over to Jersey and playing, 3 paddle matches. So
I earned my hotel stays recently.
Yeah, I haven't this year, so I still got to grind in the mornings. But no, that's what's awesome about it, I think, and I think you can all relate to that.
Can you talk a little bit about? I mean, you mentioned tournaments, and I know you host some big ones. Obviously, you host PA States, and then you guys have a big in the Philly area. You guys have a big mixed tournament, I think. And talk about what the tournament environment is like, maybe versus tennis. Like, what is it different versus tennis for a tournament?
Yeah, so for example, I host PA States, which is basically what the League Classic is to Jersey. PA States is for Philly at the moment. And I run something similar for tennis. I host the Aronimink Open. We have some prize money. It's a big event. You can just listen. I'm a tennis player at heart. That's my number one love. But that second week in August, when I'm running that tennis tournament, you just feel the tension in the air from all these tennis players. They walking in through the front desk. You can see them just like tilting a little bit, ready to battle. A paddle tournament is just completely different. It's a little bit more relaxed. Everyone knows each other. They're friends. We also host Mixed NAFTA, which is the host club is Waynesboro, but Aronimink hosts a lot of matches. That's 64 teams generally, all from the area. A guy like Tomas still comes out of play because it's such an important tournament for the area. We just hosted the Philly Cricket Classic in our area, which was huge. The Philly Open is coming up, which is generally like the biggest. You playing, Ara?
Philly Cricket backdraw champion.
Wow, look at
Wow.
that.
Here.
That's bragging rights. That's major bragging rights.
I won't tell you which backdraw, but just one of them.
Hey, I didn't win the backdraw, so you got one on me. But yeah, our area is it's so special. I think it's a central place for places like Connecticut, New Jersey, New York to come down and play some good paddle. So it's cool, man. It's a really special place, and personally, I don't see myself leaving here, probably ever. It's been so awesome, and I'm not from Philly. People from Philly are very tight knit, and I feel I've kind of like become part of the group here, and it's been pretty special.
You made it.
A little bit,
You're-
not there yet, but soon.
He's on the throne.
Tomas, anything to share about obviously you're now a little bit removed from it, but all your time there in Philly?
No, I mean, we used to everything from the league. I think Philly's league is very underrated. I think we had a lot of camaraderie. There were a lot of we used to have JC and I would have planned lunches out with members on Wednesdays for our Thursday night league matches to talk about lineups and a lot of late nights on Thursday nights. So I would agree with him. It's a lot of the camaraderie and the hangouts. I also was thinking about how JC and I aren't in great shape. So paddle is a great sport for us. So we can just kind of walk around out there. Tennis, every time we'd hit tennis balls in the summer, it was pretty short. Maybe 5-10 minutes here and there. So
That was enough.
to add that, yeah, that was enough.
That's all I got.
So as we're talking about some of the racket sports, I know one of the big things that seems to be very popular in Philadelphia and maybe some other places coming on now is padel. What do you think about padel?
I think it's next big thing, as long as, clubs kind of put money to build the courts, right? It's a little bit of a, easier spend versus a paddle court. It's a little bit cheaper to construct a couple paddle courts, padel courts versus paddle courts. We're building 3 courts out of Ronamick this coming spring and summer, so I think that's going to be huge. I think it's a little bit easier than tennis, maybe a little harder than it's a little easier. It's easier than tennis, not as easier than pickle to get into it. So I think you will see some paddle players gravitate towards the sport more in the warmer months. It's a workout, it's attractive, it's always a little bit faster, but I think I personally love it. We play all spring and summer down here in Philly, and I think it's gonna be awesome. So I know there's some clubs in Chicago out there, some people building courts. So it's just a matter of time till it catches up here. So, but I think the clubs have to kind of commit to building them to definitely make it a bigger sport than what it is right now.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think for people who don't know, hopefully most people maybe know what padel is, but padel courts are about a quarter the price of a platform courts to build. So it's certainly easier to justify, I think, right?
Yeah, definitely. So we're getting rid of a couple tennis courts just to build padel, and that's it's not an easy decision because tennis kind of like the number one sport if you want to say, but in reality it's like, right, we can put three padel courts on a tennis court if we expand the area, and that fits a lot more people than one tennis court. So I think for our club, because it's a golf club, it's going to be very successful, right? I think you'll get a lot of the golfers out playing in the spring and summer. I think, tennis clubs such as Philly Cricket already have them. They've been super successful. Places like Germantown Cricket, they're going to build them. I think they're also going to be successful. So, clubs like Waynesboro in our area and other Overbrook, other bigger clubs, if they build them, it will be cool to be one of the first areas in the country to kind of have a league and really rally behind the sport.
And it looks like all those courts are going to be outdoor only, right? So
correct.
So it'll primarily be like spring, summer, fall, but obviously it won't compete with paddle in the winter, right?
Exactly, which I think it's great. I think you gotta give people and members of clubs something to do. At least for us, once the spring season's over, everyone's done. They're onto the golf course. Paddle gets a little bit too hot. Tennis gets a little bit too hot. I think this will be something fun for people to do, while we wait for the paddle season.
Are they seeing a lot of action at Philly Cricket? And I know there's like another one at this place called Padelphia, I think I've heard, right? Are they seeing a lot of people going to play and things like that, or is it
I'll chime in here that JC is the champion of the first Padel member guest at Philly Cricket ever.
Wow.
Yeah.
I had a great partner.
Baby.
Shout out to Ryan McDonald. It's a great partner. He definitely, he paid the entry fee. I just shut up and he did all the work. So no, it's that place is awesome. And it's it's crazy how much padel they're getting, to the point that only after one season they're talking about potentially building more courts because it's been so successful. And Padelphia is cool because it's indoors. They have 3 courts. I remember before Tomas left, we're showing up 6:30, 7 a.m. in the morning and having 3 courts of action, and guys are just having wars out there before work, and then it's awesome. So I think people are rallying behind it. What I think it's cool about it is that you get tennis guys, paddle guys, and squash guys all kind of combining in this one court. So, personally, I've gotten to meet a lot more new people, especially squash players from the area that I've never have met before, just because of padel. So, like everything, I think it's gonna be a seasonal sport. I think it's gonna be great, and I think the clubs have to definitely like consider it, because it's more and more clubs are actually considering building courts.
So
Sure.
JC, with clubs having limited space, or at least some clubs having limited space and having to really, like you talked about, weighing the decision of taking away a tennis court for, whether it's pickleball courts or a padel court. Do you see any potential hurdles in the club world for padel to make a breakthrough, given that pickleball is, the talk of the town right now, and padel, at least in my conversations with people, seems to have taken a back seat, even though I agree with you that I think it's one of the fastest, if not the fastest growing sport in the world, right? Like in Spain, it took over tennis, and I think now it's the #2 sport in Spain.
Yeah.
But do you see any obstacles for padel here in the club
Yeah,
world?
I think so. I mean, listen, we had a ton of obstacles, and like, when we told our membership, hey, we're getting rid of 2 tennis courts to build pickle and padel, everyone was like, wait, what? Like, we're getting rid of 2 what? Um, but if you put the numbers out there and you do the stats and you show people, hey, like, this is kind of the traffic we're getting into our tennis courts. Yeah, they're filled for 7 weeks of our season, and but they're only filled 9 to 12, right, in the mornings, or they're filled only like 6 to 9. Like, what happens to the other hours of the day? What happens on the weekends? So I think it's, if you want to grow as a club and truly be a rackets program, like overall rackets, I think it's important to consider maybe getting rid of a tennis court, maybe taking space away from another area of the club that is maybe not being as utilized to build padel courts. So I think people have to consider it. Like you said, I think it's one of the fastest growing sports in the world. I think it's also being considered like being an Olympic sport. So I think there's some important people like behind it, and I think it's a no-brainer. But it's up to the pros and the people that play the sport to actually push it to their boards, to the other members, to actually make it a reality. I mean, we have like Juan, Mark, and Patricio. They just opened a club right in Connecticut. These are like
Sports
tennis and
house.
paddle guys. So it's happening just right in front of us. So I think it's a no-brainer for people.
All right, let's shift back to the real sport here, paddle.
Yeah.
Tomas, we need to get the insight on your Drew Broderick experience.
Oh,
Uh,
here we go.
no, just I'm not even going there yet.
No,
But
no, that's all right.
you know, and for those of you who don't know, you've obviously played a lot with Drew, and you certainly
Mhm.
played a lot last year with Drew. But again, Drew is well, we'll talk about it in a little bit, but obviously there's probably a changing of the guard going on right now with all these great young players coming in. But Drew obviously has won 4 national championships. Certainly widely thought of as one of the smartest strategists in the game. What was it like for you as a young player? Getting a chance to play that much with him and learning from him.
Yeah, well, picking up on my story with JC is JC and I had played together for a couple of years, and then I had been lucky to meet JC. I'm sorry, Drew and Guy Moore actually at the same time through JC, and even before either of us really knew much about paddle, and uh, Drew eventually called JC and said, "Hey, I'd like to, this is when Jared kind of moved away and was not really as involved." And Drew called JC and said, "Hey, I'd like to grab your partner for a couple tournaments," which was really cool of him. and obviously then JC goes to me, and we're like, holy crap, that's insane. So it was because we really looked up to him, and even better now. I mean, I work across the street from him. He's one of my best friends. It was cool.
How come he didn't pick JC? I'm just curious, like what happened there?
That's a great question, Aaron. Great question.
I don't have JC screen drives, but I think he needed some volleying or something. I think that's what he needed. Different strengths. How about that? No, so it was great for me because JC and I were, had some pretty good results. I think we got to like top, I'm going to exaggerate here, maybe like 35, which was good, but we were playing well, but we didn't really know, we were winging it completely, and I think it benefited both of us for me to play with Drew because I could get into his head a little bit and see how we all know he's a great strategic mind. He really, I don't think look at all the guys now with like Nunez and all these guys that have amazing racket skills. And I don't think any of us, JC and I in particular, or Drew, were at that kind of level. Yet he's able to, win 4 national championships with a lot of great talent, more talented people. So it was really a great experience for me to learn from him. To be honest with you, Drew will say this too, but I think the whole time we played, I didn't really understand what he was talking about at all, so only until after I had some time to digest it after that season we played together did I really understand it. And it definitely, it changed everything. I totally, see his point of view, and he's just like JC getting me started, Drew's the other reason that I was able to have any success in paddle at all. So it was a great experience. Love getting yelled at.
Let me ask you this though. Who's more high maintenance, Drew or Eric West?
Eric West is the most easygoing guy of all time. So I think that was a rhetorical question.
He's Canadian.
Drew is extremely high maintenance, and I can't wait until he hears this.
Now, did all of this knowledge sink in before or after you took those 10 FYMs from Johan?
10.
Tell you what,
that was just one game, the 10.
Yeah. I didn't even understand it then. He was just, he said, do this and do that. And I was like, okay. And I just did those 2 things. And it somehow, I remember just playing those matches and being like, okay, it's 3-1, it's 4-1, it's 5-2, it's set. And I'm like, I'm like, how did we get here? It was pretty cool. To be honest, after, I didn't even understand what he meant at that point. It didn't really, I think there's something about, Drew does talk about strategy with a lot of people, but to live it is a whole nother thing. To live it and to see it, it took some time to really know what he meant. So it was an invaluable experience that a lot of people don't get to have. So I think I was extremely lucky that, so it was awesome.
So for some color on that, for people who don't know, that wasn't last year. It was 2 years ago at the Boston Open, right? So the Boston Open, you guys were pretty much handling, Johan Durant and Stephen Mitchell, right? And I think you split the first 2 sets, but the one you won, I think you won pretty handily, I believe.
Yep.
I was actually out there for the start and then had to catch a flight, so I missed the end of it. But I was watching it on video on the plane, and I think Johan, was tired of flying in a match for 2.5 hours after 2 sets or something, and decided that win or lose, he was going to hit the ball really hard and at the other guys on the opposite side of the court. And the last set lasted about 12 minutes, or it seemed like
18-minute set we lost.
Yeah, it was a quick one.
But I mean, a story about that. We started that match, and I remember warming up, and then Drew looks at me, and Boston Open is a great scene. There's tons of people out there. More, I think, as many as any Grand Prix. They get a great showing. I mean, you can't find a parking spot. It's hundreds of people, and they're all out there. And Drew looks at me, and he's like, "We're gonna play until there's nobody left." And I was like, "Okay."
Wait, can you tell any way you can tell them how you took a bathroom break after the second set?
Oh my goodness,
dude! You have to, guys. This is the best story I've ever heard in my life. So,
I don't think he knows this, but I guess he will now.
I don't think he does it, right? He has to know at some point.
I gotta say, all those matches, Jeff Morneau, as a Boston native, who I am a big fan of, was commentated all those matches, which I feel horribly for him for that because they were all pretty boring. But we after we split sets 7-6, we won the second. We lost the first set 7-6 to Johan and Steven in the final. We won the second set 7-6, and then I had been out there 3 hours. I had to go to the bathroom. I went in there to go to the urinal, and Morneau was in the stall, and he's on the phone with someone, and he's like, "I can't believe this. This is the most boring thing I've ever seen." No, and he said Johan's gonna quit. He said Johan's never gonna play paddle again. I can't believe this. And I never told him that, but then I got in and out before he was out of the stall. It was hilarious.
That's a good story. Well, I guess he'll know now.
He'll know now.
It'll be out there. So I mean, what's the takeaway from that though? Obviously, I mean, one thing that was interesting because I called back, or I think I messaged Drew afterwards and said, how did everything go afterwards? He said, "Oh, everyone was just hanging out having beers and it was no problem. Like it was, even though they were pegging you guys pretty good, it was like,
Yep.
no big deal, just hanging out playing paddle afterwards, right?" Or,
Yeah, it was
drinking
funny of
beers.
Johan afterward was, there was an interview afterward and he's like, "Well, that whatever their strategy was seemed to work. I mean, what are you guys gonna do next time?" He says, soft and slow down the middle. It was funny. So I think he was very cool about it.
So what's your takeaway on that? I mean, obviously, the reality is those guys are national champs and probably more talented paddle players certainly at that point,
Oh,
right?
no doubt. Yeah.
What's the takeaway or the teachable moment for that from, for club players when you're playing somebody who's probably a better player as you're trying to figure out what to do in a situation?
Yeah, I think paddle's a unique game in that we didn't do anything necessarily. Like it was obvious we lobbed every ball and we played great defense, but just that you don't need to do anything. What we did is we made balls in the court. It was a little extreme, but had we done more, we probably would have missed. And lost. So I think that's the lesson there is that while it was definitely an extreme scenario, we made a lot of balls in the court. And I think that's what the game's about. So
yeah, for sure.
That's
good. So we alluded to it earlier. Let's talk about, we're recording this, by the way, on the Sunday night after the Detroit Grand Prix, which Tomas must have made a quick exit to get back in time for this. So we appreciate this. But obviously we had, I think it was amazing watching some of the women's semifinals and finals. I mean, some really good matches, some great talent. And then, on the men's side, it was kind of crazy because, we talked about Johan and Steven and they got knocked out in the quarterfinals, which I can't remember when that's happened in a long time, if ever, right? And you had two teams battling for the finals for the championship that had never won a Grand Prix before, which was kind of neat. And Alvi Regalado and Jose Salazar, who've been, kind of come out of no place this year and had unbelievable run, finally won. I mean, they won several tournaments, but they won a Grand Prix. Talk about, obviously, Tomas, you're part of it too, but what do you think about kind of this new wave of players as some of these guys are, in their mid 40s? And you mentioned Juan earlier, and he's still playing. Mark Parsons obviously is not playing anymore, but and Drew and Johan and Steven are all in their 40s or mid 40s. So talk about kind of the scene now in the men's game, at least.
I was just thinking at this tournament that I was telling someone it's really exciting how there's new players I think it was the same matchups for so long, and to see new players is really exciting, I think. And the guys are those three, Jose, Guillermo and Alvi are it's amazing how good they are for how little they played. They there's always been good tennis players in paddle, but I think they're unique in that they're not how about this? They're not missing. They don't miss. They're not pressing like a lot of good tennis players do. So they're really impressive, and it's cool to see some different. There's been a lot of different partner mix-ups recently, which has been really cool. So it's exciting.
Is that one of the things that you guys see for tennis players transitioning? Because obviously there's been, I think, some really, really good tennis players that have come to play paddle, and Jared Palmer is probably the easiest example, and he's had success, but certainly a lot of really good tennis players haven't had the success. So what do you think is the difference between a good tennis player with good racket skills that does well in paddle versus doesn't do as well as they maybe could have?
Well, I'll say that Drew once told me that sometimes the better the tennis player, the harder it is for them to buy into what it takes to win in paddle. And
Interesting.
that's what I think is most really impressive about Jared is he's the best tennis player and also bought in, which is one of the reasons they had so much success. But same with Alvi and Jose and Guillermo. They just don't, I've played all three of them and they don't seem to mind. They don't seem to mind how long the rally goes, and they're all in. So I think those that the skilled players that are willing to buy into to grinding it out, honestly.
So
I think differentiates them.
Is the tennis player mindset more of a finish as quick as you can kind of thing on a point?
Right. Well, there is you're rewarded for taking risk in tennis, but not in paddle, just not at all, almost. Or very few things actually reward you in winning the point.
So having spent some time with Tomas on the court, playing against JC, and JC obviously playing a lot with Tomas, I know firsthand how smart. I mean, I know Drew had a lot to do with your development into like tour level paddle. And he obviously imparted a lot of his knowledge of the game into you. But like I said, having shared the court with you, I know how smart you are on the court as well. And so seeing the game the way you do you see any shifts in the game or game style with guys like Nunez, Alvi, Jose, who have incredible racket skills? I mean, just watching the Atlantic Classic and that one pickup that Nunez had that went, inside in on Bostrom, and Bostrom left Bostrom kind of standing there. I mean, I was like, holy crap, that's crazy. But with their racket skills, do you see the game, the tactics of the game changing? Is the foundation the same, and you're just adding elements to it? Like what do you see being the difference with these young guys, or is it just a more athletic version of a formula that's already been in place for a long time?
That's a great question. I think I'll say, I'm going to quote Guy Moore here. If you've been listening to the live stream, he's been saying vertical or north and south a lot recently, which I didn't know what he meant by that, but yeah, I think they're extremely challenged. Yeah, vertically challenged. Me too. They look to blitz a lot. I think like they look to, while their opponents are at the net, they look to find a way to get the ball behind them and move in. But they have, I think Jose is pretty conventional, actually, kind of paddle player. I think he doesn't put himself out of position very often, but Guillermo and Alvi in particular are really good at putting themselves out of position, but really like having an awareness of when they have the advantage in the situation, when they don't. I think they're exceptional at that. So I think they're moving forward when their opponents are both up more than I think if you were to watch a paddle match from back in the day, more than they have ever, I think. But they're just really good at gauging their risk.
Is that something that you would teach your members, or is that more, gotta have that
definitely not. I'd rather teach it the old school way.
Okay.
Where just stay back, unless the net is earned somehow. I think they're extraordinary. And
I think that's not teachable, right?
No, but
I wouldn't tell myself I wouldn't tell myself to do that.
I can relate. I mean, I'm always out of position also. So, it's pretty much the same as Alvi, right?
I heard you footfall too.
No,
there's video evidence.
I've only been on Football Friday 3 times. So
the most wanted man on
the only 3 on video.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. Well, hey, we know it's getting a little bit late here, and on a Sunday night, we appreciate your time. We wanted to finish with a couple other questions for both of you, JC and Tomas. We'll do this one, which is easy. So if you weren't rackets professionals, what would you be doing?
Dude, me, nothing. Just hanging out at the beach in Puerto Rico.
He'd be at the beach in Puerto Rico.
I'll be at the beach in Puerto Rico, man, just hanging out with my homies. That's it.
That sounds all right.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
have a
that's
few,
it? No,
I
no
have a
real
few
answer?
questions.
So
No,
I
I got,
got.
Tomas, how about you?
I don't know, maybe anything that's competitive, maybe some sales or something that I can make into a game. I think, that's kind of broad, but I'll go with that.
Keeping it mysterious, keeping it true to
Keeping it
yourself. I
well,
like it.
JC said the beach, so
TC,
like it.
didn't you work for UPS one summer in your young
you
days
know
in
what I
Philly?
did? I had a couple interesting jobs. I was a UPS. I had the whole outfit and everything. It was great. UPS, brown outfit, brown pants, brown shirt, UPS
Nice.
driver helper in the month of December when I was home from school.
That
And then
taught you
eventually that
what
wasn't
you didn't want
cutting
to
it.
do. That taught you what you didn't want to do anymore.
Yeah, I actually in college I said, JC, I don't have any money. I need some hours. He's like, I
Yeah.
might start delivering. I actually told him I might start delivering pizzas. He's like, no way, man. And he helped me out.
That's funny. All right.
I got a couple too, Noah.
Go ahead.
Hey, Thomas, just wondering.
Oh, this is not Meredith again, is it?
Oh boy,
No,
this
of
is
course not. Of
this is a
course not.
setup. This has got to be a
These are
setup.
legitimate questions. Come on, I'm just
Got
curious.
it.
Like, you come to Jersey a lot and Philly. Like, how come you can't get a good lobster in Hoboken? Like, why is that?
Oh, well, you can actually. So
Yeah, but
Luke
you can't.
Alakanavich, this digging he does is unbelievable. Luke Alakanavich, who is an avid paddle fan, and actually a good friend of JC and I as well. We've a couple Wednesdays we've played paddle, maybe 5:30 to 7, and then there's a $35 Hoboken lobster deal. You get a full lobster and 2 sides, and we hit that right afterwards. So shout out to Luke.
You know,
Luke's Lobsters.
it's funny you mentioned Luke, Tomas, because
What was it?
JC, I mean, I'm looking at you right now. I'm very jealous. I mean, you have some really nice hair, right? But now Luke is a member of our club, and all I hear is that now you have the best hair in MAPTA, where before Luke used to have it. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Me and Luke, did you see him last weekend at the Atlantic Classic by any chance? He was
I-
rocking head to toe Sergio Tacchini tracksuit. No, but you might have seen him. Dude, the guy just listen, nobody looks better than Luke Alcanovich, that's for sure. So
No doubt about
what
it.
when he was in Philly, he definitely had the best hair.
Him
Look,
and
if
Philippe
there's
Rams might be
any
brothers.
takeaway that I've taken from all of these paddle tournaments, aside from going to the TC School of Paddle when I played Baltimore, was up in my fashion game and up in the hair game. It's like those are the
Got to.
2 main takeaways that I've
Got it.
had in the
Well,
past year.
come on, up in your hair game. Turn sideways, Nobu. Show off a little bit with the man bun. Come on.
Oh, well, we'll just put it down.
Let
Unfortunately,
your hair,
No.
let your hair
we
relax.
just had
Nobu.
to do
Look
a
at
little
that.
bit of that.
Nice. There's
That's
no
so
better hair.
good.
There's no better hair in paddle. Between Nobu and and Andrew Ong. It's a 2-horse race. Even Philippe might have fallen out of that race. Although,
Oh, I
he's
don't
close.
know. That's
He's close.
got some good hair too. We actually got to go out. I think where was that? Philly Cricket. We all went out to
Yeah.
dinner, and Philippe and I got to talk about our hair routines and how often do we wash it. He wouldn't share
Dry
what kind of
shampoo.
products. He wouldn't share what kind of shampoo or conditioner he used, which I was a little bit upset with because it felt a little competitive with the hair game. But
Well,
It's
I'm
like a
gonna find out.
goat urine or something special he doesn't want to share.
Maybe if you bring Philippe onto this podcast, I'll ask. I'll press.
We should. That would be good.
yeah,
That's a good
just so
call.
you know, Tomas and JC, Luke's nickname at our club is Paul Mitchell. So you guys,
Love that.
you guys can
That's
go call him that
perfect.
all you want.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah. So Tomas, what was
Oh,
your
no.
favorite part of Eric West's bachelor party? What was that all about?
Wow. Wow. Eric West bachelor party.
The only part he remembers the beginning.
Oh man, what do we do? A little bit of Top Golf. I think my favorite part is the EDM nightclub in Atlanta. I think, we had a good time. I can't really disclose any of that, but we had a great time at Eric West's bachelor party.
All right. And the only other question I have is, about your driving skills, Tomas. Like, how are you at driving cars? Like, are you really into, you going Formula One or anything like that, NASCAR, or,
Well, if you ask Eric West, who's from the Midwest, he thinks I'm a NASCAR driver. But he's got to get in the car with JC, who drives through red lights in Puerto Rico, and then he'll know about NASCAR. So
is that frowned upon in Philly?
I'm like a 5 miles per hour over. Actually, in Philly, if you roll through a stop sign right in front of a cop, nobody's going to say anything.
Wow.
I think Eric's going to prison in Cincinnati if that happens.
That's funny.
Or Oklahoma.
Nobu, you wanna do the rapid fire questions?
Sure. Sounds
You got them up?
All
right. So these are I don't know. Ben knows. What are they? 20 questions.
And 120 or
20
no,
and,
I guess it's
20 and
240.
120. 20 questions in 120 seconds. So quick one. Easy. Either or question.
Are we going individual or are they answering as a group?
Let's alternate. Let's alternate between the two of them.
Okay.
Oh, like it. Okay.
So this is like an IQ test. So Tomas, you'll answer the first one, and JC, you get the second one, and alternate.
I got to get
boy,
the time.
I don't know if I can handle that.
I gotta time it. Hang on.
All right.
We have, what is it? 2 minutes?
2 minutes.
That would be 120 seconds. Yes.
Yes. All right.
Nailed that one.
I'm very good. I'm very good at math. Hang on.
Nobu, you want to read the questions to yourself in advance, so no accidents happen?
So you want to go first or second?
Well,
you go first, dude.
Okay.
Whenever you guys are ready, let me know. The timer is ready.
all right, ready to go.
Who's going
Tomas,
first?
Never.
starting. Tomas,
going first.
cutter or
All right.
waterfall?
Cutter.
JC, appetizer or dessert?
Dessert all day.
T, Apple or Android?
Apple.
JC, shit or fuck?
Fuck all the way.
No. The word, not the action.
Fuck.
Tomas, Coke or Pepsi?
Coke.
JC, aliens or Bigfoot?
Aliens.
Tomas, third set or pro flight paddle breaker?
Third set.
Good one.
JC, electric or American muscle?
Electric.
Tesla.
T, belly flop or cannonball?
I'm going cannonball.
JC, suitcase or backpack?
Backpack.
It's probably because we fit in it. T, fit in or stand out?
Fit in.
JC, ice cream or cake?
Ice cream.
T, dine in or delivery?
Ooh, delivery.
JC, old or new?
Old.
T, fight 100 duck-sized horses or one horse-sized duck?
I'm gonna go with the one horse-sized duck.
JC, Chrome or Safari?
Safari.
T, rich and famous or rich and unknown?
Rich and unknown.
JC, pirates or ninjas?
Pirates.
T, ocean or mountains?
Ocean.
JC, pizza or tacos?
Pizza.
T, documentary or movie?
Movie.
JC, puffy or crunchy Cheetos?
Crunchy Cheetos.
T, cooking or dishes?
Fucking.
JC, tea or coffee?
Coffee.
T, messy
That's
desk?
it.
That's
That's
it.
it.
That's it.
That's it. That was good. All
We
right. now
almost got
pretty
through
good.
all of them. That's not bad.
Shit or
Not-
fuck.
Yeah.
So good.
I like that one.
So good.
Shocking,
word.
shock-
The word,
shocking-
JC.
Yes, the word, not the action. Shockingly, Ben wrote those
That's
questions.
because they asked me to ask these the first time I looked at it. I'm like, I'm not asking that. I'm like, I don't want to know. And they're like, what? I'm like, that's a horrible question. They're like, no, we just want to know which is their favorite curse word. I'm like, oh,
Yes.
I'm like, forget. That's totally different than what I thought.
I was pretty
I knew-
sure that Nobu was going to bypass that.
I knew
Why?
that's what you meant, Nobu, by the way. I knew that's exactly what you meant.
There you go. Sorry how you read it. All right, so now we know more about the mayor and the assistant mayor of Philly. Which is which? That'll be up to you to decide who has which role there. But guys, really appreciate you being on tonight. great having you on. Obviously, great for everything you guys both do for paddle to promote the sport. And paddle is the way it is because of the fun personalities that are in it. So, thanks for being on tonight and sharing a little bit about it. And thanks for being a part of paddle.
Thanks
Thanks,
for having
boys.
us on, guys. Appreciate
Absolutely, absolutely. Thanks, guys. Have a good night. All right, that's a wrap. Really fun episode tonight with JC Cotto, the probably the best Puerto Rican paddle player in the country, and Tomas Christian. Fun episode, and we'll continue to see those guys as they play in Short Hills in a couple weeks, and we'll look for them in Philly whenever we get a chance. Thanks, guys.